Rido, hello. Ryan, what's up?
What's up, dude?
All right, cool. So, any echo? I think everything good on your end?
Yeah, we're good over here, yeah.
All right. So our mics are hot. I will go over a few SEO videos within the first 8-10 minutes, and then I'll introduce you in. With mics, what's up? For those watching the replay, go ahead and skip this countdown. For those watching the replay, go ahead and skip this countdown. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another show. Don't forget to say hi in the chat. I see a few of you on there. Let me know where you're from. Hey David, no, the beats are from Elements from Envato. Royalty free.
Yeah. Hey, time to get it started. No delay, let's work. Wanna see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO video show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul Andre De Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released within the past week into about 1-minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest. And my guest this week is the founder of the SEO Blueprint training, Ryan Stewart. Before we get started, I want to say hey to everyone in chats. David, Charlene, Bev, Drew, the search agency, Mike's, David, Bradley, what's up everyone? Welcome to the show. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified when we go live. I am choosing 3 lucky winners from last week's show, and here we go. Let's go and check this out right here. First winner is all right, never mind. That's not working right now. Let me go over to this one over here. Brian, winner number 1. Ish, developer minded SEO number 2. David Misham number 3. Don't forget to email me your address and I will send you a copy of the Lost and Founder book. 3 of you, don't forget to email me this week. Don't forget to put I love SEO, and I'll be sending you a copy of the SEO Blueprint. 3 of you next week will get a copy of the SEO Blueprint, so don't forget to put I love SEO. Let's go ahead and get started with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Why did Tiger Woods start studying SEO? To get his #1 ranking back.
Significant improvements to the data in Search Console index coverage in the index coverage report was launched this week. Launching the Google News Performance Report to help news publishers understand user behavior in Google News on Android and iOS devices have been posted. Question Hub is now open in the US. How many of you guys are using this? This is a pretty cool feature that Google just rolled out. You can see questions gathered by Google, answer them with your own existing content, and find new content ideas. Speaking of questions, Nathan Gotch answers 30 questions on Quora this week on his channel. Let's check one of them out.
Should I target keywords with 0 search volume in SEO? I recommend an 80-20 split. 80% of your content should target a keyword, while 20% can target keywords that are more risky or don't have search volume. And one workaround is that search volume isn't the only way to validate an idea. You can use websites like Quora or Reddit to find ideas and then use the user engagement as validation for that topic. This is an awesome way to find untapped opportunity.
Finding untapped opportunities can be really easy when you have a tool that can give you real-time search queries. Here's a keyword research tip I learned for the first time this week.
So these keywords actually are most searched by users. When I'm going to the tools from under the search bar, from here there is tools button. So I click at the past week period, and this keywords was changed. You can create content if there is trend and you want to be on trend. You can add them on your page to optimize the page and to be more visible for these long tail keywords.
So if you do Google search, there's a little button that says tools. Click on that and then put the results to like the past week, and you'll get totally different results in related keyword searches. So check that out if you want to get more untapped keywords. Cool tip, which I didn't know until this past week. Intent is a common topic in SEO. Let's see how we can analyze a SERP of a keyword to understand users' intent.
How do we analyze a SERP of a keyword to understand intent? I think you have to remember that Google is trying to serve the best result for somebody. So depending on the information that is shown, that can kind of tell you where they might be from an intent standpoint. If you're seeing maybe a lot of like featured snippets or answer boxes, potentially that's more high level. People are more in that research discovery phase. If you start to see that there's more information in regards to competitors or versus competitor A versus competitor B, or maybe pricing information, that might tell you a little bit more about what people are going to be looking for too. So I think you kind of have to take it potentially on a case-by-case basis, but I would try to understand what Google is trying to show you with some of those like rich featured snippets to kind of help unpack that a little bit more.
So Google can be used for so many things. You can, you don't need all these tools to do some research. Use Google itself. There's a lot of them out there. So the tweet of the week.
Number one is text around and on the image. Literally.
How do we analyze a SERP of a keyword to understand intent?
It is by Cyrus. He put 21 smart Google SEO tips on for 2021. The number one thing he mentions is the favicon optimization to increase CTR on mobile. Use a high contrast image to pop things out. Speaking of image optimization, Chris Palmer gives us 5 SEO tips for image optimization.
On the image can be a bump. Now also text around the image. If I have an image and it's on a page, the image, the page, and the text around the image should be about the topic, all right? Almost common sense, but I want to make sure that you know this tip because it can be helpful. Number 2, image quality. These super large PNGs are going to slow down your site. So utilizing a JPEG or a also super hyper compressed image like a JPEG 2000 is going to be a better bet for you. Number 3, optimize your alt text. If I'm looking at the search engine results page, also known as the SERP, and I'm analyzing my competition, when I look at their images, how many of their images are optimized? Meaning, how many of their alt tags contain a keyword or a variation of the keyword? We want to start matching, mimicking so we can beat them. We want to get a little bit higher within the amounts of alt tags on our page. Number 4, optimize the titles of the images. Optimizing the titles. I'm able to get keywords into the titles of the images. This is being read by Google. It's within the source code. Make sure that you're optimizing your titles. Number 5 is image schema. Now, schema makes it so easy for Google or a bot to come right to your page and understand everything.
Check out the full video to see a free tool where you can embed metadata into images. Remember, in image search, when you click on the image, it now goes to the page that the image is on. Tips for Best Overall SEO Initiative from Enterprise Award by Search Engine Land was won by Lily Ray of Path Interactive. Let's see what she did to win this award.
One of the reasons that this campaign was as successful as it was, as I mentioned before, was that there was no single strategy that worked. It was a combination of a lot of different strategies. So like, you brought up schema. We also did that. We did backlink auditing. We did new content consolidation and things like that. And another thing that made it so successful was like being at an agency, we have the ability to leverage multiple different experts within my team to do different things simultaneously. So that just allows you to hit all the different areas of SEO. So I think it's, especially when your site is negatively impacted by a core update, it's very important to focus on every possible area and not just think that maybe it's one thing that caused the problem.
Right. You can certainly maybe triage the duties that are most important, but you can't really cherry pick with SEO. It's all encompassing.
This is something like we call, like in my circle of SEOs, like factor diversity, something you should check out. And it's not just one thing you should optimize for. Optimize for a bunch of things. My guest this week put on a video a few days ago called Your Agency is Broken. Here's a 5-part SEO framework from the video to give you some ideas to implement in your agency.
First is we got to review the data, make sure that there's no past errors, get an understanding for the website. We got to put together a project plan, some sort of overarching guide that just keeps us on pace, really more internally than externally as well. We got to do some sort of technical review just to make sure that there's no roadblocks and we can fix those roadblocks and potentially get a quick pop in traffic if there are any. We got to do keyword research. We got to do on-page improvements. We got to do keyword research again. We do keyword research in two parts. Part one is for, we call it like bottom funnel pages, like a product page or a service page. Part two is for top funnel content marketing. Then we got to put together a content strategy and content topics, and then we got to actually get that content created. The next part is just going into link building strategy and audit, making sure that we've reviewed anything in the past. There's no penalties or anything like that. And then we got to acquire links for them. And then the final part is just reporting. So these are all the things that go into really what it takes for us as an agency to get our prospective clients, the clients that we usually work with, results. We got to do all these things.
This brings me to my favorite part of the show. Please ask questions in the live chat during our conversation. Questions are great for all of us for all of us to learn together.
Ryan's marketing journey started over 10 years ago as a consultant for Deloitte. He worked with Target, Best Buy, Accenture, and the Department of Defense. He successfully built and sold companies. He then went on and founded Webrus in early 2016. In 2019, he founded the Blueprint Training. By 2020, he wrote the book, The SEO Blueprint, How to Get More Organic Traffic Right Now. He has an unhealthy obsession with being considered the best internet marketer around the world. Please welcome the founder and author of the SEO Blueprint, Ryan Stewart.
Hey, what's up, Ryan? Welcome to the SEO video show.
That intro was amazing. Bruce Buffer better look out. You better watch his back.
Thank you very much. I mean, thank you for coming on for like such last minute. I appreciate it. I mean, I first watched your presentation at the SEO Rockstars, and it was something I was looking forward to because I mean, right now I'm an in-house SEO, and I'm looking forward to starting my own agency, and yours was definitely something that I had to pay attention to, and definitely learned a lot from. And so with your journey, I'm curious. Let's try to turn back the clock. I want to know when Ryan started learning SEO.
Yeah, so I started learning SEO a little bit over 10 years ago. When I was working for a consultant at Deloitte, I knew that was not the life that I wanted to live. A whole bunch of reasons. Corporate America just was not for me, just long story short. And I started pushing into some other forays like internet marketing back in the day is what it was called. Really just by clicking on a lot of spammy banner ads and just trying to figure out all sorts of different ways that I could really kind of change my future and just figure out an alternative way to make income. And what I stumbled on was Instagram. And this is back pre-Facebook acquisition. It was a completely different platform back then. And what I did is I was working with a couple of large, like what were meme accounts back then. Memes didn't even exist back then. But basically what we were doing was we were trying to build these large networks of large accounts and then ultimately sell ad space on those accounts to businesses. It was a massive fail. It was too early. Businesses didn't even know what Instagram was, let alone the fact that they didn't see why they'd want to be featured on an account that has cats on it. So what I learned from that, though, was just a lot about just kind of the marketing space in general and also client services. And one day I had a partner in that business. Hard to call it a business. It was more of a side hustle than anything. But we were talking in a coffee shop and this guy sitting next to us overheard us. And he was basically like, that sounds awesome what you guys are doing, but there's something much easier. It's called search engine optimization. It's basically just the process of getting a website to rank in the first result of Google for whatever you're searching for. He's like, it's easy money. And this is back in 2010, 2011, when it was really just about literally change the page titles, buy 5 links from wherever. They could be Weebly websites. It doesn't even matter. And you're going to rank. So off the back of that, really kind of started my journey into the SEO space and client services and a whole bunch of things that we can talk about.
So, I mean, when you were learning it, was there anyone that you're following, any particular websites you're visiting when you first heard about SEO?
It was a while ago. I mean, Rand Fishkin, like back like when he was doing Whiteboard Fridays in his basement. But for the most part, like it wasn't as mature as an industry that it is now. Like there wasn't people doing what you're doing right now. It was very much so kind of underground in a sense, almost black hat. It was like you were learning from forums, you were learning from like Reddit, stuff like that. Like people weren't really as open about sharing information because back then it was so easy to make money with it that it was a secret almost. Now it's like, yeah, I'll tell you whatever you want because it's going to take you 6 months to do anything with this anyway. So go ahead. We're at the point now where SEO is not about the inputs and knowledge anymore. It's about execution. Whereas back then it was literally just knowing where to buy a link could make you like $1 million. It was crazy. So it was mostly trial by fire back then, just kind of learning. And then in 2012, when all the crazy algorithm updates started rolling out, that was when we really had to buckle down and take a different approach to SEO, which is really what we're still doing now, which is just kind of focusing on the fundamentals. That video that you just showed, those things don't change, right? So that's kind of that, I guess, in a nutshell.
Speaking of Whiteboard Fridays, you were on a Whiteboard Friday. I was actually found it and put it in the intro for you. And I'm curious, did you have to fly to Seattle to do it, or did you have your own whiteboard and record it? How was that experience?
I had written for their blog a couple times, and I saw it as a really good opportunity to get my name and face out there. This is probably 5 years ago now. But yeah, I just sent them an email and I was like, hey, I filmed I used to have a blackboard in my kitchen, the condo I used to live in, and I filmed like a 15-minute preview of what I was going to present to them. And if it didn't go with them, then I was just going to post it on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I just sent it to them and they were like, this is great. When can you come out? And I flew out next month. I filmed it and that was that.
Nice. So just reaching out, right? Just reaching out and asking.
Yeah.
Great tip. Just ask guys if you want to build your brand, ask whoever, and you never know, you may get accepted. So I want to kind of take it back a little bit to when you actually decided to go the agency, start your own agency route, because I know there's some of us that are, you were working for Deloitte. That's like a really prestigious brand. Like a lot of people would love to be, out of college, just love to be working for a company like that. What gave you the courage to just like kind of, were you scared of starting something on? Like, what made you like go ahead and go over the top? Just like, you know what, I'm done. I want to start my own thing. And
for
like,
sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it courage. I believe that all decisions in life, especially big decisions, are made based on the amount of pain that it's causing you, right? If you want to get in shape, everyone knows how to, but it's about experiencing the pain of your current situation versus the pain of going through the process to get to where you want to be. It's the same thing with building a business. I just got to the point where the pain internally of waking up every day and doing something that I hated, every day I felt like a part of me was dying, and the pain from that was enough for me to break out of my shell, because I'm a huge introvert actually, and like going to like a networking event is painful for me, but I realized that I had to push through that pain in order to grow. And when it comes to starting a business, like you've at some point got to remove the security blanket, you've got to jump, and you have to be willing and want to put yourself through that pain and that level of uncomfortability to get to where you want to be. So for me, it wasn't about finding courage or anything like that. It was about, I couldn't stand my current situation, and I didn't feel like I was willing to do anything. I was starting a business with Instagram meme accounts just because I had to do something. I just could not show up there anymore and continue to do what I was doing. I just felt like I was going to wake up tomorrow and be 55 and that was going to be my life. So that pain of my current situation, and I use that word pain. I don't mean, I'm not trying to compare myself to somebody who's in an actual painful situation. It's pain is relative, right? Pain is relative to your situation. So when I say pain, I'm not trying to compare myself to somebody starving on the street. I'm just saying that when it came to showing up every day and doing that job versus going through a period of uncomfortability, really years and years of uncomfortable situations to get to a point where I had a self-sustaining business, it was worth it for me 100%.
Dropping knowledge bombs there, Ryan. Nice. All right. So I wanted to go into like, okay, when you were actually work with some bigger clients, like you were working with Target and Best Buy. I'm thinking I believe this is way back. Do you see a difference now between working with clients that big to the clients that you're working with now?
Yeah, absolutely. Our agency could work with a client of that size. We probably wouldn't be a good fit for them though. We're really better positioned for small to mid-sized businesses that I would say between like 1 and 20 million a year in revenue, and depending on the industry, that revenue makes not that big of a difference. But when it comes to working with a client like Target or Best Buy, it's all about communication. And you also got to have the technical chops to be able to, understand the CMS that they're running on. If they're running on a CMS at all, you've got to understand how their website's built and structured. But I think more importantly too, you've got to understand how those organizations work. Like, you're not just going to start building links to a company like that.
Yeah.
And even the type of SEO that you're doing, like link building, you're not building links. It's more like link management, right? It's like link pruning. It's link directions and stuff like that. So working with clients like that, it's a different type of SEO, just like, doing e-commerce or B2B. I call it enterprise SEO. Enterprise SEO, you've got to have really good communicators in house. You should really probably have like a project or an account person who's dedicated to the admin stuff. So you're not bogging down your analysts, because your analysts or consultants are usually going to forget to do stuff because it's not their job to. So you just got to have more infrastructure as an agency if you want to work with clients like that. The pay is a lot more, obviously. I mean, you can get $100,000 a month contracts with companies like that, but it's reflected on operations. The agency that I sold my agency to, we were doing enterprise SEO, and I learned a lot about the type of companies that I want to run and don't want to run. And running an enterprise style company is definitely how you become a $50 million agency. But doing 50 million top line doesn't mean you're doing 50 million bottom line. Yeah. I'm much more of a low friction, high margin person. And I want my staff to feel the same way, right? I don't want to. So part of where I was able to work with a lot of those clients was, after I started my first agency and failed, I decided that I wasn't ready to start the business that I wanted to. So I went and I worked for a large agency called Sapient Nitro as a contractor. So I was 50% contractor, 50% work with my clients. And I learned a lot. I learned about communication. I learned about project management. I learned about analytics. I learned about things that large companies care about. And I also understood kind of the nuances of running a business. So that kind of learning experience really prepared me to be able to pitch and work with clients like that. But at the same time, coming full circle on all that stuff, like I said, I mean, I actually bought my way out of the agency that I sold to so I could get back to running an agency that was in that video that I showed you, that you posted. I want to run something that's streamlined. I want to run something that's highly productized, meaning scalable, repeatable. It's just a lot easier, especially with the fact that I have multiple companies. I don't want to run some company that's going to suck all my time and, force my employees to work 80 hours a week like they do at big agencies to service these big clients. So there's always a trade-off, right? And what I've been working on is finding what that happy medium looks like in terms of price point we can charge versus expectations versus delivery on the back end for my team and the type of team that I need to build, right? And that's the other thing too, is that if you want to work enterprise companies, you've got to have enterprise talent, and enterprise talent is hard to find and it's expensive. And enterprise talent is constantly jumping from company to company for another offer. So it's a trade-off. And again, the company that I sold to, I realized that, we got up to about 40 employees, and I was like, this is much more of a game of HR and like herding cats in terms of employees than anything to do with marketing or sales or generating revenue for us. My day-to-day was focused on the team and not even like working through the team, but kind of like managing all the pain in the asses that can come up with having that many people working on high stress accounts, right? So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference between enterprise, small business. Every nuance of marketing and SEO has a little bit different to it. Enterprise has its challenges, and it's very attractive to a lot of smaller agencies. But then when you go through that process of realizing that it has nothing to do with you and what you know about SEO, it's all about the people and how you communicate what you know. It's a completely different ballgame.
So that actually brings us to where you actually developed the Blueprint training. And based on on processes and procedures. For those that are not unfamiliar with the Blueprint training, can you, how did it come into fruition? And tell us a little more about it.
Yeah, so the Blueprint, after I sold Weber's in 2018, my agency, a large reason for why we were acquired was because of our processes. We were able to distill a very complex service, that's SEO, into something very, again, repeatable and scalable, which also then transitioned to everything else in the business. I was able to build a system to bring in lesser experienced folk, meaning lower cost of the business, get them trained up very quickly because we were highly focused on doing just parts of SEO. And I was able to build a very scalable and repeatable business in a very short period of time. So after I sold that, I realized that the information that I had amassed through that process is very valuable to agencies, especially agencies doing less than $1 million in revenue. So what I did is I packaged that up into a training and coaching program that has now evolved over the last 2 years into the Blueprint training. So so we help agencies, specifically SEO agencies, really scale past $1 million, really through intentional process design, high focus on, and a lot of people, when they see my stuff too, I always talk about stripping stuff down. Like I don't necessarily pay attention to the noise and the updates in the SEO industry because I don't think they really matter. And a lot of people take that the wrong way. Like, I don't care. I'm not a blah, 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 whatever, but really I'm a business first person. And understanding that it's all about the customers and clients. And if you're trying to do too much, you're not doing anything. Like if you're constantly chasing down the latest tactic, you're probably not as good as you should be at keyword research, right? So we focus on the fundamentals, and we focus on being the best in the world at those fundamentals. And we're constantly looking at how can we strip those fundamentals down to the core elements, again, that we can really focus on being the best in the world, that continuously improving our deliverables, continuously working towards true automation, continuously getting our staff better, continuously better servicing our clients, as opposed to chasing down, all these friggin' updates that come out every day that people spend half of their day chasing down and trying to understand when they don't matter, right? So all these concepts I rolled into this training and coaching program, and it's been amazing. I mean, it's been a joy of a business to run. I love working with consultants and agency owners because we speak the same language. You said that you would love to jump your job. I've sat where you've sat before, so I know exactly what you feel, and I know exactly how to help you too. So that level of understanding and being able to roll this out again into a highly productized offer that we have at the Blueprint, where it's part knowledge, but then also part like, we're going to help you take action. We're going to be that accountability partner for you. So I'm not just giving you blanket information about keyword research. I'm teaching you how to turn this into a business. I'm teaching you how to build a team. I'm teaching you how to extract yourself from the day to day. So the Blueprint has really evolved off the back of our successful agency that we sold. And now that I have the rights back to my agency, we're constantly rolling that back in too. So all the stuff we do at Weber's is folded into the Blueprint on a daily basis. Speaking
of Weber's, so like, how did it come back to you buying it back? Like, you sold it, and then like, how did it come about where you bought it back? And it's like, hey, did the owner that bought it from you say, oh, you want to buy it back, or did you kind of offer it back? Put an offer out there?
I mean, I'll say this. We went through kind of a rough patch after we kind of split up. We've since mended. I have nothing but great things to say about that company, the people there. Honestly, I really do. But business partnerships are just like relationships. Sometimes they run their course. That's all I can really say about it. For where I wanted to take the company in terms of like, I don't want to do this custom technical work that's costing us an immense amount of money and not delivering that much value to the client. Because you run a huge technical audit for an enterprise company, what do they do with it? They sit on it for 6 months and then they bitch about the developers and who's going to do this. Like, I don't want to do that. That's not the type of work I want to be doing, And I thought that it was ultimately, at the end of the day, again, like, people look at me and might think that I'm too much about the revenue side of things, but it's actually the opposite. I'm all about the customer and the client. Like, I want to do what's best by them. I want to make myself money and my team money, but I also want to make my customer money first and foremost. And if I don't feel like I'm doing the best by them, then I can't do either of those. So I was looking for for ways to get back to this element of this productized service while still servicing a higher ticket client, right? Like, if you hire our agency now, it's not like we don't do small business local SEO. Or we moved to the sprint model that we can talk about a little bit more, but that was more what I wanted to get into, something that was scalable and repeatable. I don't have a vision to take Weber's to a $50 million company. I want to be, $10 million at really high margin, while I take that money as cash flow and feed it into my other businesses, feed it into my real estate portfolio, and then also empowering my team to grow and ultimately become leaders in the company so we can do more things. So it just ran its course for better and for worse. I think we're both better off. But yeah, I mean, business partnerships are just like relationships, man. I mean, you've dated how many women in your life, and you've only married one, or 2 or 3 for some folks, I guess. But either way, it's, things come to a natural end. And I think it's important that you understand kind of the signs of this, and you just openly communicate. We just had a conversation, and that was it. We're like, look, both of us didn't feel like this was a really good fit anymore. I'm not of value to the company where I'm at. So let's just figure out a way that we can both win. And we did. So.
Dropping it. Okay, we got a comment here from With Mics. I love Ryan's videos. Ryan's videos show evolution and adaptation to the business climate, like moving from always moving like moving from always having a $12 million contract to something that works in the current pandemic climate. Thank you.
That's a 12-month contract. If it was a $12 million contract, you wouldn't be watching this.
Well, yeah, 12-month contract. There we go. That actually brings me to a quote you actually mentioned earlier this week. And it's not about what we do. It's about what they need. Can you explain, this was like kind of the relaunch-ish of WebRest, like what you kind of base off of, I think back in August. Can you explain what was the strategy behind this quote?
Yeah, for sure. It's actually very simple. I think that too often, like I said, we are so focused on, look, I love the SEO industry. I really do. I love the fact that this industry is so vibrant that someone like yourself can start a show that people watch and they care about. That's amazing, right? That's not like this in too many other industries around the world, right? That also comes with some downsides. And I think some of that downside is that people get too bogged down in the tactics. I harp on this a lot to my coaching clients. Don't chase headlines. It's not about headlines. Headlines are for you, right? We tell it's about the clients, but it's really for us, because at the end of the day, a client doesn't really care about, like, if a client's paying you, do they really care about you spending your time figuring out, I don't know, just all this different stuff that ultimately isn't going to impact their top line or their traffic or whatever it is that they're hiring you for, right? So we just had to go back to the drawing board, because when we relaunched, we were selling these 12-month contracts just like we've always done. And we still have some 12-month contracts. I'm not saying 12-month contracts are bad at all. I think they're still very effective for the right client, but you have to understand who your client is. And that's where you have to start. Who are we servicing? What pain points do they have? And then what are we offering them as a solution to those pain points? And if you're looking at a 12-month contract for a small business who's running off PPP loans, that's not what's best for them. It's not, right? So again, it starts with them and really understanding what's best for them. And I'm not saying that, getting off 12-month contracts is the only solution. There's a million different solutions. And that's part of what we coach folks with, is we have a system for understanding who your customer is, or who they could be and who they should be based on the value that you can offer, how to take your service and turn it into something very productized, and then how to go back to the market and communicate your value to that specific customer. So it's all about that. Everything is that. And at the end of the day, it's your job then as a business owner to make sure the economics of it work out, which is fairly easy to do, because if you're solving a pain point, all you have to do is anchor that pain point in the price point, right? And then charge less. That's really it. And then just make sure that you can make that work economically. So it's all about solving pain points. It's all about the customer. It's all about just, if you're stuck, going back and being like, this is who I service. Like, what's struggling for them, And SEO might not be the solution for that, because it's not the solution for everyone anymore. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of that quote in a nutshell, I guess. Nice.
Thank you for that. All right. So I have actually something where you actually had a project or a business where you went from 0 to 1.2 million organic page views. It's one of your, is this a site? Do you still have this website?
I sold that.
Oh, you sold it. So I'm curious, from that website, what were like some 3 action items that you did that you felt were important to drive it from 0 to 1.2 million?
Yes, I mean, same thing with these 3 pillars that we teach in the blueprint: positioning, productization, and marketing, are really applied to any business, right? So if we take those same 3 pillars and look at that business, it was called Laces Out. The first was positioning. It was understanding the need in the market and positioning ourselves as a solution for that. So I'm a big sneaker fan myself. And I, kind of just knew from being in market and being in customer that you would spend like $200 on a pair of Jordans, but they don't, and then they get dirty. You can clean them with a brush, but those shoelaces, they get dirty. They don't clean, right? And they didn't sell replacement laces for these shoes. So just knowing that people are spending a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 on some sneakers, and they want to maintain them over their life, but there was no replacement shoelace. So basically I just kind of literally started ordering some products from China based on the specs that I took. I would just measure the shoelaces for my shoes and then order them from China. And then basically just turn that into an e-commerce store. And so it just started with a position and the pain point that the customers had, that I can't get a simple replacement shoe, like a very small price to pay to keep my, investment looking good. So we just started selling those, and we just positioned them on the website as replacement laces for sneakers. And it was super easy because we could take the same SKU and just repurpose it from an SEO point of view for a different product page. So we were creating unique pages, but we were selling the same product. So really we only had like 6 different SKUs, but we had like 25, I think, different product pages targeting these different shoes. And because of that, because there was no one in the market for that, we ranked super easily. So we were able to effectively get traffic, organic traffic, because the price point was so small too, it had to run on organic traffic. We ran some Facebook ads just for kind of like remarketing, but for the most part, it just ran on SEO. And it was easy. So we started with understanding the positioning. We built the website around that, all the marketing around that. And then we just went out and we just connected with sneaker bloggers. We connected with sneakerheads. We connected with sneaker magazines just for via email, DM, etc. It was super easy. And we're basically just like, this is what we do. We've got a ton of extra product. We'd love to send you some, or we'd love to do some collabs. Like, here's what we can offer in terms of collaboration. Like, we have designers, we can make like infographics, we can do like cool videos, whatever that they wanted to do, we would put that together, and then we would just get links from them and exposure on social media. It was what we really try and teach here is simplicity, right? So many people, again, we're chasing headlines, we're trying to do way too much, but again, it just comes down to those 3 things. Like, what's best for them, right? Whoever the customer is, how can I build a solution that's not going to be a pain in the ass productized? And then how do I market that, right? How do I take their pain points and turn that into content and then get it in front of them on whatever platforms they're hanging out? It applies to every single business. Everyone just wants to overcomplicate it.
Thank you. That was awesome. So, I mean, you are an entrepreneur, a speaker, and author. You're an author over here. So you actually wrote this SEO Blueprint. It took you about 3 years to write this book, from what I read. I'm curious, like, what was the process of actually getting this written? Were you keeping a journal of everything? Like, to everyone that doesn't, if you want a copy of this book, please put "I love SEO" in the chat, and I will pick 3 of you guys to send these 3 books, 3 copies of the books to you. But it's a great read. It's easy to read, and it's what you're talking about. It's timeless, not necessarily tactics, but it's timeless, strategy that people can follow. If there was first of all, let me ask the question, how did you actually, write the book? Did you actually keep this journal that you're just writing for the past 3 years?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I'll answer it because a lot of people have this problem. I feel like probably half the people watching this have had like this goal or thought to write a book. Mm-hmm. But they don't, because they're standing in their own way, just like I was. I kept on telling myself, I'm the only one and this applies to everything in business too. This is a big learning for me, especially in 2021, really getting out of my own damn way, right? Like letting other people come in and shine, because there's a million people out there that can write. And it's just I figured out it wasn't really good use of my time over time. So it took 3 years because I was trying to write it myself. I was writing the outlines, I was writing the chapters chapter by chapter, but then I would revisit it next year and be like, damn, I'll have to change this now because I wrote that a year ago. So I had to really go back and just kind of scrap it. I just wrote the straw man, the outline, and then because I had the Blueprint video course, which was super helpful, but then I would just basically shoot Loom videos and just kind of walk them through what I was thinking, some examples that I had in mind. And then I just worked with Julia McCoy. She owns a company called Express Writers, really awesome outsourced writing company. Mm-hmm. I just paid her to write it. And her team was amazing. They helped us get it done in a couple of months. So knowing what I know now, I have plans to write another book about those 3 pillars that I just said, really specifically for agencies. Mm-hmm. And now I know the process to get it done and very quickly. And it's just a matter of just kind of getting it off my plate and letting somebody else do it.
That's valuable information right there. Thank you for telling us that. I mean, if there's one idea or value that you wish that someone that read the book is to get from me, what would that one idea be, or that you would want them to get? Process.
Yeah, I mean, especially SEO. I mean, this past year alone, I've talked to over 500 agency people, and I can't tell you how many of them know that process is the problem, but they still don't. They still don't put pen to paper and figure it out. And again, part of that is the fact that they don't know what their position in the market is. They're trying to do everything for everyone. You go to most agencies' websites, they're like, yeah, we can do your website, we can do pay-per-click, we can do SEO, we can do Facebook ads, but like, you can't. Like, I'm a very experienced marketer, and I know for a fact that like there's only certain things that I would feel comfortable having a client pay me to do, or my company pay me to do. So part of it is understanding that specializing and like picking a position in the market does not mean you're going to cut off market share. You're actually going to get more customers, and it's going to make it much easier to build a process. Because if you're taking on clients, one that does e-commerce, another one that's an attorney, another one that's an enterprise company, you're literally, every time they come on, you're starting from scratch. You're sitting with your team or yourself, and you're just under all sorts of pressure because you have no process to get it done, right? So process is really important. Processes don't necessarily mean that it's set in stone. A process gives you a starting point, something that you can evolve on over time. but it allows you to baseline results. It allows you to baseline and forecast and understand what's coming, and just give yourself, your team, and the client peace of mind too, that you have a plan, right? So that book is really about process. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Basically what we try to do is just kind of give everyone the entire kitchen sink of everything you could ever need for SEO. If it's not in that book, you don't need to pay attention to it. And there's still a lot of stuff in there. So what we, again, try and coach and teach in the blueprint is, here's everything that you might need, but now let's talk about who your customer is, and let's talk about stripping this down to only offering them the things that you need. For example, for us, like, you will never catch us doing, I mean, we just don't work with local clients, so everything local is off the table. But you'll never catching us do a competitive audit. You'll never catch us doing just like a lot of the things that they're good for SEO knowledge, but they're not going to move the needle for the clients that we work with. They don't care about that. The clients that we want to work with, they want more traffic and sales. They don't want extra deliverables. They don't want extra stuff. And we've highly vet customers, so we're not working with clients that are asking for us to do all sorts of ad hoc analysis just based on the retainer that they're paying us. No, you're paying us to do what we contract you to do, nothing else. So again, it's process, and it's also understanding that, like, you should be doing less. You should be doing less than what you're currently doing, because I can promise you that there's just a lot of inefficiency. And like, again, like, you have an SEO client and they're like, you have a great website, Ryan, can you build us a website? No, we can't. That's not what we do. Sorry, that's not what we do. We don't have a process to do that. I don't have, like, I'm not going to go out. It's going to take me 10 hours to go out and find a contractor, or maybe somebody that I've worked with before in the past. And then, like, I'm not comfortable making that recommendation. I don't have control over the project. Like, they're going to pay you 20 grand, but how much is it actually going to cost you? Right. It's not just price arbitrage. There's so much other things that, from a mental point of view of running the business, that you want to stay away from. And so many agencies fall into that trap because they break their process. So process is really kind of like the key that book, what I would love for people to take from that book.
Process, guys. Okay, Brian over here says the cadence of business acumen is what Ryan Stewart brings to SEO. That's why I love SEO. Thank you, Brian, for that comment. Okay, guys, I'm coming close to the end of the show. I want to make sure if you have any questions, type them in now. I saw one come in. We have here one by Guru. Why SEO? Why not paid ads? You have a comment on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do paid ads for our companies. I just hired a media buyer actually to start taking over our ads for 2021, which is exciting, but I don't have a process to do it.
There you
I have
go.
a really good process to do SEO, you know? So again, like, people come to me all the time. They want me to run their ads because they see us killing it with our ads and they want us to replicate it. But I tell them, like, that's not what we do. I'll refer you to a company that I work with all the time because I'll trust them and I'll take the referral fee off of that. But like, again, like, it's just not worth the effort for me to go out and, like, there's so much that goes into ad. And so much stuff that's also out of your control. And this is, you know, I still love SEO as a service for clients because of the fact that, like, it's basically a checklist if you're doing it right, you know. But with ads, like, it's like, okay, well, we need video. Boom. That right there in itself is like, how do you get a client who can't get on camera? They don't have a budget for it. They've never worked with a video company for it. They're in California. I'm in Miami. Like, just that in itself, like, it's like, I'm already out. Like, I don't want to figure that out. And then you got to figure out copywriting, you know, and especially with ads, like, if you're going to do ads, you have to be working with one type of client, you know, like, if you're going to be trying to do ads for multiple niches and industries, like, ads are something that, like, you've got to test. Like, you don't know that they're going to work. SEO is, again, so you follow a process and the algorithm favors it, then, like, you're good. You know, there's still an element of not getting results, but it's different than ads where it's like, you can figure it out. It just takes time. But, like, that time to figure it out is something that breaks my process. And, like, I'm sure as hell not going to do it. And, like, I don't want to put that on my team. It's just not something that we have a process for. So that's why I don't do it. But I do think it's an amazing service to offer if you can crack that code. But I think you should focus more on one niche, one vertical, one industry, highly, highly specialized. If ads would be your model, as opposed to just, like, we do Facebook ads. No, it's not a good idea.
No process, no service. Here's another question by Mike's. What would you say to someone looking to transition from being a freelancer to starting an agency?
Yeah, two things. The first two pillars, I would say, understand what your position in the market is and build that position, and really put some time into deciphering. So within the blueprint, we teach 4 ways of trying to figure out where your position is. There's like selecting a niche, which like everyone talks about, like I'm going to do attorneys, blah, blah, there's a specialized service, which could be like the sprints that we offer. It could be like just doing content marketing. There's a couple of different ways that you can do that. So like going through that process of understanding what your position is, it's going to make things so much easier, because when people don't have their positioning figured out and then they're trying to acquire clients, it's like, yeah, of course you can't acquire clients because you're a generalist, and nobody wants to hire a generalist if you don't have the experience and the chops. If you're not an agency with 5 years of experience and all these awards and all this stuff, then like you can't really push the generalist route. So a lot of people, again, they look at the people on the top who are like generalists, and but those people, you didn't see them shooting in the gym. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see them working to get to that point. They've established themselves in the market. If you're not established in the market, like the easiest way to do that is select a position. And then after that too, highly focus on offering a productized service, because trying to spin up a very complex service is just going to make operations a nightmare. Like your first 25 grand needs to basically flow. 25 grand per month, like really needs to flow through you. Pardon my dog. The squirrel's outside. And yeah, so positioning, and then also, like I said, productization, just making sure that you're doing something scalable and repeatable.
It's not about what we do, it's about what they need. So Ryan, I mean, I'm coming close to the end of the show, but I always ask this question to all my guests. If someone wanted to become an SEO professional, what is that one tip that you can give them?
I'll just say focus on your craft. It's and again, also it's the same concepts apply here too. Like focus on being really good at one part of it. I think SEO generalists are great, but if you want to go work a career somewhere, you're going to stand out much better if you're really good at one thing, one part of it. That doesn't mean that you should like lack on the other elements of it. But again, like how you position yourself, how you, like even just when I ask for resumes from folks, I ask for resumes, but I'm also like, can you please send me your LinkedIn, your Twitter? Like I want to see if somebody's is like yourself, like having like someone like you who's got the entrepreneurial mindset of going out and doing a show like this. Having you in house is incredibly valuable to someone like me, So I think that if this is something that you're serious about doing, about working in house, the same concepts apply. It's just it's a lot kind of less stress and effort to do so, but like just get involved. You know what I'm saying? Like have a Twitter account, like read, like engage in conversations. You know what I'm saying? Like it's cliche, but if you want to get into, if you want to get into anything, you're choosing to do that, you're not forced into it, then it should be something that you care about. If you can't care about it enough to like talk about it on social media and potentially like create some videos about it or blog about it, then you should choose something else. Go into something that you actually care about, because again, these same fundamental concepts are universal. They apply to everything. So, same thing, like position yourself as an expert and like market yourself. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like talk about it, it's only going to help you get better. And I think also you'd be the first to agree with me that like the easiest way to learn something is to actually get involved in doing it, because you're forcing yourself to have these conversations. You're forcing yourself to continuously learning. I mean, like just for you, just putting this show together, you've got to go out and constantly bring in new information to your audience. So you're just learning so much through the process. It's the same thing I do with interviews with people, like, being able to, it's an easy way to learn from other people, but also doing some research. So again, so I can force myself to have these conversations and learn through this process too. It's all interconnected. You know what I mean?
All right, we got one question that snuck in here. Apart from SEO skill, what other skills do you look in a person to grow in an industry? I guess, with your agency. Or
apart from SEO skill, what would you look to grow in your industry? I think same thing. I mean, are you asking if I'm hiring someone, what am I looking for?
I don't know, Guru. Is that what you're asking for? All right.
That's not, I can answer it anyways.
Okay.
I mean, just kind of holistic marketing, I guess. Again, I think a common pitfall with a lot of SEOs is that, well, even for me, right? People call me an SEO and I'm kind of like, I'm not really an SEO. I'm a marketer. Like I got into SEO because at the time that was the most effective marketing tactic. But like, if I'm being honest, like SEO is not the most effective marketing tactic for every company anymore. So I think understanding the fact that like, you should aim to be a marketer, because in 5 to 10 years from now, we don't know what's going to happen with SEO and Google. Like you could be shit out of luck, with a skill set that's decaying. But if you're a marketer and you understand how things interconnect, and you understand at the end of the day, this is about helping businesses grow. If you have the skill set, there's a really good saying. It's called sell me the hole, not the shovel, right? Meaning the end goal here is to help businesses get more customers. That's a skill set that you should be constantly optimizing against. SEO is a shovel. It's a great tool, but we don't know that the shovel might be outdated. It might be a crane that you're going to want to use in 5 years. That might be what you have to use. So again, at the end of the day, it's about understanding how to get business more customers. If SEO is still effective for the customers that you're serving, then yeah, keep doing that. Get as good as possible. But understanding also that even like going through to just be the best, like going through sales conversations is what I'm instilling in my sales team too. Is like I'm really trying to get them to understand the repercussions of good SEO that doesn't affect organic traffic, right? Like, for example, customers ask us all the time, like, I don't want to do content. What's the point of doing content marketing? It's not going to drive more customers. Well, because the more organic traffic that we can get to your site, people are self-qualifying them, putting themselves, and you're pixeling them. And once you have them pixeled, then like you're going to be able to acquire them from remarketing for super cheap. So understanding those types of things is about being a marketer, right? It's about understanding what's best for this customer. It's also about a good way to grow your business and your practice. So again, at the end of the day, it's not about SEO. It's not about Facebook ads. It's about helping people, helping customers, helping them achieve their goals, and understanding what the best tool set is for that, and just constantly getting better at it.
All right, Ryan. So I want to, like, if you want someone to get a hold of you, where can someone find you?
You can check us out at the blueprint.training.
The blueprint.
Especially if you're an agency or consultant.
The blueprint.training. Nice. All right, Ryan, if you can hold on really quick, we're sign off with everyone here. All right, let's see here. All right, guys, that concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. I hope you found it insightful and helpful. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and type I love SEO if you want a free copy of the SEO Blueprint. I will choose the winners next week. But so I will see you next Friday. Peace.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, cause the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO video show. Let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre DeVera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo!